Thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So, problem series I do on this channel. Now I mainly do it about fighters. I've done it with promoters as well. Now we're going to do it with a network. We're going to talk about Sky Sports and the problems that I believe they have and that they are definitely going to have come what 2021. So let's talk about this. Obviously, we got the news, I think it was Monday, that DAZN is coming to the UK. It's coming to the UK and Ireland, amongst other countries. And decent price, I think it's like $4.99 a month. It'll probably go up a little bit after a year or so, but it's still a decent price for the Matchroom US shows, the Golden Boy shows, and the Triple G shows. Now, the first fight they're going to have is Canelo versus Billy Joe or Callum Smith. I've got a Canelo video coming out later where they're pretty much alluding to the fact that it's Billy Joe. So that is what that is. That's the first DAZN fight that we'll have on their streaming platform, on their app, which, you know, I'll be definitely downloading it. I'll be downloading it on, you know, my smart TV and my iPhone. I'll be paying the subscription, no problem, no questions asked. I think it's good. I think it's good for the fans. I think it's good for everyone. Now, Sky Sports, obviously we know they have a contract with Eddie Hearn until 2021. And, you know, they're obviously, Adam Smith's been saying in interviews with Boxing Social today that he wants to keep that contract going. He wants to extend it, obviously. And there are several reasons why I think Sky want to extend it. Obviously, Eddie Hearn, it's an exclusive deal. So no other promoter operates on Sky other than Eddie Hearn. So there's no, like, Frank Warren. There's no, you know, Mick Hennessy. You know, there's no one like that who can operate on Sky other than Eddie Hearn. Now, the UK fighters that Eddie Hearn has and the UK shows that Eddie Hearn does, the bread and butter is Anthony Joshua. You know, he is the guy who is, you know, feeding the guys like, you know, Adam Smith and all that in Sky Sports Boxing. You know, it goes without saying. So they obviously want to keep Eddie Hearn for that fact. Because if they lose Matchroom UK, what can they do? Realistically, what can they do? Frank Warren is in there with BT Sport. You know, he doesn't need to be anywhere. They could potentially start working with MTK, which I don't think is a bad move, but MTK seem to have that ESPN deal, and, you know, I think they'll eventually go on to BT Sport as well. So I can't see the MTK deal, you know, I can't see that working or happening. There are promoters like, I think Frank Maloney's made a comeback, you know, in recent weeks. I've heard his name being mentioned on some, you know, boxing forums. I don't know if they work with Frank these days. There's also Joe Gallagher promotes a few shows. Same with Dave Cole. These are small haul. These are very small haul shows. And if you cast your mind back to like 2009, 2010, those are the shows that we were getting on a regular basis from Sky. So, you know, you had like Friday Fight Night, stuff like that. Basically, the next gen shows that Eddie Hearn does, they were your Saturday Fight Nights. Basically, that was basically what it was. British level fights and, you know, a couple of guys, a couple of prospects beating up journeymen. That's basically what Sky was before, you know, people like Carl Froch, before people like Anthony Joshua came and, you know, elevated the British boxing scene. That's kind of what Sky was. I think that's what they're afraid of happening again. They don't want that to happen again. And when I look at the decisions that Sky have made, you know, in terms of the pay-per-views that they've been doing, if you think of it like this, come what may, we're going to have Dana White versus Povetkin on pay-per-view. Probably going to get Usyk versus Chisora on pay-per-view, followed by Anthony Joshua versus Pulev on pay-per-view. 3 pay-per-views in the span of 6 weeks. And, you know, it's expensive, and that's taken into consideration as well. We have, on BT Sport, we have Joyce versus Dubois. It's 4 pay-per-views, you know. Obviously, BT Sport's a different platform, but Sky have done 3 pay-per-views within the space of 6 weeks. They are pushing to get AJ versus Fury in by the end of the year, because that is a massive fight wherever it is, undisputed. 2 well-known British fighters, 2 popular British fighters, because Fury's gained a lot of popularity as well as AJ. That's going to do massive numbers for Sky. They will make an absolute fortune on that. So they want to get these in, because I think they're anticipating Eddie Hearn deciding to go with DAZN full-time and take the whole of Matchroom. So the US Matchroom and the UK Matchroom. Okay? If you think of it like this, look what Sky have already lost. So the international fight cards, at least the Matchroom ones, we won't see them anymore. At least I'm fairly sure we won't. So the cards like we had last Saturday, we won't see that. That'll be DAZN exclusive. Okay, so we're not going to be able to, you know, wake up the next morning or go onto YouTube and Sky have it there. They won't have it. At least I'm pretty sure they won't. So we'll be losing that. Now, Sky have done international fight cards in the past with different promoters. You know, if you cast your minds back to the early days of PBC, they were showing a lot of PBC cards on Sky on their international fight nights. I remember, like, it seemed like every other week whenever there was a PBC show on, it was on Sky Sports. You know, they've shown some Showtime shows. They used to show some HBO shows. Obviously, with the Sky in-house commentary team would be doing it back in the day. So they have done it with international fight cards, but for the last, like, say 2 years, it's been mainly the zone shows. They haven't even shown any Golden Boy shows, really, when you think about it. I can't even remember the last Golden Boy show that wasn't a co-deal with Eddie Hearn. Like, the standalone Golden Boy shows, they don't show them on the international fight cards. So I'd imagine it'd be something like that, where we're not really going to see any international fight cards on Sky anymore. And, you know, as I said, I think that Eddie Hearn, once this deal with Sky comes to an end, he's going to focus on the zone more. Because let's face facts, he's employed by the zone. The zone signed him up to whatever the deal was. I think it was like 5 or 6 years. But let's not forget, the 5 or 6 year deal is with something like a 3-year probation. So he's having to prove himself to the zone. And they are pumping money into Eddie Hearn. So if Eddie Hearn is focusing more so on, you know, appeasing Sky, then, you know, the subscriptions are dropping for the zone in the US and in the UK, obviously they come here. So Eddie Hearn is trying to appease the zone. And if you go back to last year, start last year, when Eddie Hearn was putting on some weak cards, and let's face it, they were weak UK cards, and like they haven't got much better, to be fair, since then. But when he was putting on those weak Sky cards, Adam Smith was saying, no, this isn't good enough, and people were making videos. I made a video about it, and we were saying, you know, yeah, well, the shows aren't great, but why do you think they're not great? Because Eddie Hearn is trying to focus so much on the zone. We have a fight this weekend. We've got Jono versus Quake. I like Jono, he's a cool guy. I don't know him personally, but he seems like a cool guy. I know a few guys who do. That's not a headline fight. That's not a main card, you know, main event card fight. Like, it's just not. It'd be perfect on undercard like Dylan White versus Povetkin. Yeah, it'd be fine. But the headline on Sky Fight Night, no. And then you think back to the fight we had last week. You know, in the US, right? We had Mikey Garcia versus Jesse Vargas. We had Parker versus Winters. We had Jay Harris versus Julio Cesar Martinez. Then we had, who was it, Chocolatito versus Jafai. That's all on one US card. Who do we have on this card this weekend? Jono versus Quake. We've got that Zach Parker guy, who's, you know, a British level fighter, people. We have Anthony Fowler, British level fighter. We have Hughie Fury. You know, that just says it all. You know, the US cards, obviously the US market has a few more names in it, has a bit more kind of, you know, depth to it. Still, you know, we've got fighters like Jay Harris and Yafai going over to the US to do these fights, you know. So Eddie Hearn's definitely been putting more work in on the US side than he has on the UK side, and it shows in the quality of some of those cards. You know, it really does. So I think that once 2021 comes around and Eddie Hearn has the opportunity to go with the zone full time, I think he'll do it. And I think that that's when we'll start to see Sky really have the problems. Like I said, that's why they're trying to get these pay-per-views in, as many as they can. I think they're trying to get these Dylan White pay-per-views in, these Usyk pay-per-views in, these AJ pay-per-views in, to max their revenue. So if the inevitable, you know, split from Eddie Hearn comes, they've had their cake and eat it, essentially. That's especially why they're trying to get this Fury pay-per-view over the line. Now, I don't know how that would work with BT Sport and Fury, whether they do, you know, one does pay-per-view, one does the other. I don't know how that would work personally, but they're definitely trying to get that in. No, they're trying to have their cake and eat it, basically. That's essentially what Sky are trying to do. So I think there's problems all around for Sky Boxing, and if Eddie Hearn does leave, as I said, will they go to some of these smaller promoters and start doing those? I don't know. I don't think Sky, would they be willing to do that again? I don't know. If Eddie Hearn takes over, if the zone take over the UK boxing with Matchroom, I won't have a reason to buy Sky Sports anymore, to pay for it anymore, because it's expensive. It is. If I can have it all under one platform where I'm paying a set price a month and it eliminates pay-per-views as well, I'm going with that. I'm not paying a subscription when there's sports that, like cricket and stuff like that, I don't watch. You know, I only watch Sky Sports for the boxing and darts, and like I said, I can stream the dart. I can get a streaming site for that, so I can pay a yearly subscription for that as well in one go. So those are my thoughts on this. Let me know. You think Sky Sports has a problem, and do you think that Eddie Hearn, once this contract with Sky comes to an end 2021, he's gonna cut and run? Alright, let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bit of a long video here. This is like the third time I tried to sit down and record it as well. It's been a nightmare trying to record this video. Let me know what you think down below. I hope you enjoy it. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe of course if you are new. And as always, I will talk to you after.